Hello and welcome everybody. It's great to have you with us today. This is the JBI Live webinar series, and JBI Live is a series that features special guests right from around the world on a diverse range of topics that relate to a core shared interest that we all have globally as health professionals and in related groups. That is topics related to evidence-based practice or evidence-based healthcare. Today for JBI Live, I'm joined by Professors Robin Christian and Michelle Palokas, who I'll introduce in a minute, who will be talking with us and sharing some insights around valuable strategies for universities covering DNP programs on evidence-based approaches to improving student experiences and opportunities as well. This free JBI Live webinar has been co-hosted by Wolters Kluwer Health, so we are delighted to be with you today. And as we prepare for our time together, I just want to acknowledge that we're delivering this webinar in Australia, at least, from the lands of the Kaurna people, and acknowledge also the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you work today, and any Australian, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in our webinar, paying my respects to elders past, present, emerging, and to celebrate the diversity of Indigenous peoples, their ongoing culture and connection to land and water. Now I'm really excited to introduce our speakers, and as I get ready to do that, feel free to use social media anytime during this talk. If you have your phone with you, take photos, use the hashtag JBI Live, hashtag JBI Live. We'll get you picked up around the world, and feel free to @ us so that we can amplify and share what it is that you found interesting and engaging and want to be involved in the presentation of as well. So feel free to tweet and use social media throughout. Now let me move to the bit that I've been really looking forward to the most, to introduce Robin and Michelle, and then to just sort of lay out where we're heading for the rest of this session. As I do that, it's worth declaring that we have no personal professional conflicts of interests associated with this presentation, and that includes in relation to academic and scholastic material that informs or forms the basis of this session. So before we go any further, let me now introduce Professor Robin Christian, PhD. She's an accredited trainer certified reviewer for JBI Comprehensive Systematic Review Training Program and the JBI Evidence Implementation Training Program. Robin has over 28 years of experience as a registered nurse and 25 years as a family practitioner in addition to her academic work. She's also certified in functional medicine, owns a company called Restore Health and Wellness in Mississippi, and has received many awards for her research, for her education, teaching and practice, and for her leadership in the faculty at Mississippi, including awards from Sigma Theta Tau and the DAISY faculty, or the DAISY organization as well. So we're delighted to have Robin with us, a highly celebrated academic who's doing truly innovative work. And Robin is joined by Michelle Palokas, who is the Associate Professor and Interim Associate Dean for Administration and Assistant Dean for Accreditation and Evaluation at the University of Mississippi in the School of Nursing. Michelle has 22 years of experience as a nurse and healthcare leader and brings a wealth of knowledge to her roles. Michelle also serves as Deputy Director of the Mississippi Center of Evidence-Based Practice, which is a JBI Center of Excellence, and she holds accreditation as a trainer certified reviewer for both comprehensive systematic review training and evidence implementation training. So these are two highly regarded, well-rounded professionals with extensive certification in international programs. And finally, there's me. I'm Craig, I'm your host this morning, today, let's say today, and I'm an Associate Professor at the University of Adelaide. I've worked in JBI for about 27 years, and my interests are primarily around implementation and implementation fidelity type issues, particularly as they relate to supporting practicing professionals to lead their own local quality improvement or evidence-based initiatives. I hold the position of Adjunct Associate Professor at Queen's University in Canada and am co-chair of the JBI Implementation Science Methods Group, I'm also editor-in-chief of three international journals, JBI Evidence Implementation, Nursing and Health Sciences, and BMC Systematic Reviews. So we're delighted to be with you for a while, and I'm now going to hand over to our two wonderful panelists and invite them to lead off into their presentation. Thank you both.
Thank you very much, Craig. And hello, everyone. We are so happy to have you with us today. So let me just make sure I can operate. How do I move my slides? I'm sorry. Will someone be doing that for me? There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to get us started today, as Craig did a great introduction. We are going to be talking today about how we have implemented and used JBI methodology in our nursing curriculum at our School of Nursing. So we're very excited to share what we're doing today. And please, at the end, let us know if you have any questions, because we would love to share with you what we're doing and how we're doing it. And hopefully you have lots of questions after we have our presentation. So just a little background information. We are a part of the University of Mississippi Medical Center. We are the only academic medical center in the state of Mississippi, and very proud to be that academic center. We, on our campus, we house 6 health science schools, including medicine, nursing, dentistry, health-related professions, graduate studies, and population health. And we have over 3,000 students on our campus in Jackson, Mississippi. Our School of Nursing was founded in 1948, and our mission and value of our School of Nursing is to develop nurse leaders through innovative partnerships, community-based systems, and evidence-based practice and research. So what is a DNP? And we have several international people with us today, and for those of you that are not familiar with this degree, I just want to share a little information about the Doctorate of Nursing practice. In 2004, the American Association of Colleges of Nursing endorsed the position statement on the practice doctorate in nursing, which called for moving the level of preparation for advanced practice nurses from the master's to the doctoral level. And this is due to the changing demands of our complex healthcare environment, and that healthcare environment is requiring nurses to serve in specialty positions that have the highest level of scientific knowledge and practice expertise possible. So the Doctorate of Nursing Practice, or DNP, degree is designed for nurses that are seeking a terminal degree in nursing practice, which is different, of course, from the PhD, which is nursing research, and offers an alternative to those students and clinicians who are interested in that practice role. And the DNP curriculum expands learning essential to preparing expert clinicians and nurse leaders, with our coursework focusing on evidence-based practice, quality improvement, policy advocacy, information, and systems thinking. And as we continue to talk today, just in that sentence of our curriculum, JBI offers incredible resources for most of those components. So that's why we're very excited to be using the JBI methodology in our curriculum. We, as Craig mentioned, we are very proud to be a JBI Center of Excellence. I have been very fortunate to be a part of JBI since 2008. I was able to go to Adelaide as a part of my doctoral program and took the systematic review course there at the University of Adelaide. And I knew in 2008 we needed this information brought back to Mississippi. And I was very proud to be able to do that when I joined UMC in 2014. And in 2015, we began integration of JBI systematic review methodology into our DNP curriculum. In 2018, we became a Center of Excellence, and in 2019, we started introducing the evidence implementation methodology from JBI into our curriculum, and that's what we're going to be talking to you about today, is the evidence implementation. We are also a U.S. Cochrane Center. So why do we need evidence implementation in the DNP program or in nursing curricula? And as you recall, the emphasis of DNP is quality improvement and evidence-based practice, which is what JBI is also all about. So in this very ever-evolving, very complex healthcare landscape, the implementation of evidence-based practice is fundamental to patient care, to optimize outcomes, and elevate healthcare experiences. And evidence implementation is not only for experienced healthcare professionals, but we need to be teaching this to our students. So when our students get out of school, they are ready to lead these implementation projects, and especially our DNP students. And as I mentioned before, our DNP program equips nursing professionals with advanced knowledge and skills to lead, manage, and innovate in healthcare settings. So here is a little more information about evidence implementation. What's so important in giving hands-on instruction to our students? So this evidence implementation enhances their clinical decision-making skills. It helps students to foster a mindset of continuous learning and innovation. It prepares future leaders for realities of healthcare practice, and it enables students to apply theoretical knowledge to practical real-life scenarios, fostering a deeper understanding of the challenges and rewards of driving healthcare in healthcare settings. So the JBI Evidence Implementation Program is a 6-month evidence program, which is comprised of 2 intensive training workshops. So we have students come in at the beginning and do intense training. They leave our training and go into the clinical setting to implement their project, and they come back for a recap and a closing session with a little more training and practical advice about publication and getting their work disseminated. The project is carried out in the student's clinical setting or the participant's clinical setting of choice, and they are given practical strategies for putting evidence into practice and the information, resources, and tools that students need to do so through an implementation project, again, in their own clinical setting. This is JBI's evidence implementation framework. It has 7 phases, and what we love about JBI is they spell out everything very clearly for you. They give you a straight path of and structure to follow, and we have really developed our curriculum around the JBI evidence model of evidence-based practice, and also this framework of evidence implementation to structure and organize their projects. And this is the methodology paper if you are interested in reading more about the evidence implementation framework from JBI and their 7-stage process. And within JBI, in the evidence implementation program, we are also trained on software, which is called PACES. I believe, yes, that's my next slide there. And so this is also a component of the training program and the actual clinical project, which gives us a place to store our data, create tables and charts for us, and to help our students use the data that was collected during their implementation project. And I believe at this point, Michelle is going to get a little deeper with us and get to the nitty-gritty of how we are actually doing this.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you, Craig, for getting up early to host us. We are so excited to tell our story. We think it's a great story, and we hope that someone else can learn something from our story. So before we tell you how we implemented this into our DNP program, we thought it was important for you to understand the why. Like, why did we need to do this? And this is kind of the tell-all slide. So if you look in 2018, this graph shows how many DNP applicants we had and how many we admitted. So in 2018, we had 13 applicants and we admitted 9 students. And then when we get to 2021, you can see that we had 38 applicants. We admitted 30 students. So our enrollment tripled over a few years. And we all know what happens when your student enrollment goes up. You need more resources. So there were lots of downstream effects from that burst in enrollment. So we had that growth, and a little background on how we were doing our DNP projects. I would say it was the traditional committee. They had a traditional committee, just like most of our doctoral nursing students do, and it was a 2 to 3 faculty member committee. There was a chair, a faculty chair, and with that came differing expectations. So we did give the faculty guidance for our DNP students. We all know when we have different faculty, we have different expectations. Therefore, we had students at various points in their projects. We lacked standardization, and what really piqued our interest was that we have a benchmark for our accrediting body, and that is that 70% of our DNP students have to complete the program within 150% of the time of their plan of study. And we had a year where we did not meet that benchmark. So we knew that we had a problem, and we knew that we had to fix it. So we sat down and hashed it out and said, this is how we're going to fix it. So in 2021, I was the DNP director at that time, and we decided to integrate JBI's Evidence Implementation Training Program into our DNP curriculum as the student's DNP project. And I'll tell you more about that on the next few slides. One of our biggest hurdles in the beginning was we had to figure out how are we going to have our students pay the enrollment fee to participate in the Evidence Implementation Program. As a state entity, tuition and additional fees are a challenge for us. So we had to work on that for quite a while, but our business operations team figured it out. And now our students pay a JBI fee as a part of their first semester tuition once they enroll in the program. So we're all set there. Once we got that figured out, we thought we could figure out anything. We built, Robin showed you a few slides ago, the 7 phases of the Evidence Implementation Program, and we really built our coursework around those 7 phases. So our DNP project course spans over 4 or 5 semesters, depending on if the student is full-time or part-time. And you will see on the next few slides how we integrated those 7 phases into that coursework. We also are very, I would say, dependent on our electronic learning management system. We house all of our resources for our students with this Evidence Implementation Training Program in that system, and we use it just like we would with any other course. So they have assignments in this course. All the resources that they need to complete their assignments are there as well. So that helps us stay organized. So this is a 10,000-foot view of how we integrated the Evidence Implementation Training Program into our DNP coursework. So there are really 2 courses. Those course names are on this slide, DNP 702-1 and DNP 712, where we integrate the Evidence Implementation Training Program. And in DNP 702, this is where we start them thinking about their project topic. And by the end of that semester in 702, they have a project topic settled. And then in DNP 712, that is our DNP project course, and our students take 4 to 5 credits. They take 5 credits of that course, but it's over 3 or 4 semesters, depending on if they're part-time or full-time. So in that first credit in the summer, the students conduct phases 1 through 4 of their evidence implementation project. In the fall semester, they conduct phases 5 through 7, and they actually begin writing an evidence implementation report that we later submit to the JBI Evidence Implementation Journal. In that 4th credit or spring semester, they continue writing their report. They finish their report. They submit their report. They also submit an abstract to our School of Nursing Research and Scholarship Day for a poster or podium presentation. And then those part-time students take an additional credit. And I really love when the students are part-time because it kind of gives us an extra semester with them, to where if they have submitted their report to JBI and they get feedback on that potential publication, the faculty can then help them with that feedback that they receive. So part-time is the way to go if you want faculty help with your publication, more faculty help. So we use Canvas as our e-learning management system, and this is just a screenshot of our main page. But again, we house resources for the DNP project or evidence implementation project here, along with assignments to keep them on track each semester. A couple of resources that we have within this Canvas or e-learning management system are this JBI Evidence Implementation Journal template. So one of the things I love about JBI, and Robin already said this, is the guidance that they provide is just fantastic. So this template is actually provided by the JBI Evidence Implementation Journal. So it's a template to start writing your report, and we give this to students, and look how wonderful it is. It has tips on here, the maximum word count. It is, I feel like JBI is honorary faculty for us, all the guidance that they provide. So this is just a screenshot of that template. And this is another screenshot because I wanted you to see these bullets here. This is the introduction section with the tips. It tells students how many words it should be and has bulleted points of what should be included in the introduction. So the students get this early in their coursework so they can start thinking about this, and then they write their paper in sections and provide to us in sections, and then we give feedback. So by the end of their DNP program, they are ready to submit their report to JBI Evidence Implementation Journal. We have faculty guidance along with JBI resources in our e-learning management system. And this is Dr. Linda Upchurch. She is our current DNP director. She is so wonderful about providing video guidance for the assignments in the students' course. And I just wanted to shout out to her as well because she came on board after we started this new process and jumped with both feet in and loves JBI as much as we do. She is now a trainer, an evidence implementation trainer, and helps us train students and guide students through this process as well. So kudos to her. JBI also has YouTube videos, a whole library of YouTube videos on how to use the software that goes along with evidence implementation training. So this is a wonderful resource that I wanted to point out that we often use to guide students in that software. Now, this is one of my favorite days of the year. So we do ask our students to submit an abstract to our Research and Scholarship Day within our School of Nursing related to their evidence implementation project. This is considered their DNP project presentation. So far, all of our students have been accepted for either a poster or a podium presentation. And this is our first cohort of students that completed their projects. This was a really happy day for all of us because the faculty was so proud that we got the students through it. And of course, the students are delighted because they're finishing up their DNP projects. So this is great. It's always a celebration on that day. So I wanted you to see, you can see their posters in the background and their smiles. It's just one of my favorite pictures. And we have had some, what we consider amazing outcomes by doing the evidence implementation program with our DNP students. So 25 DNP students in 2 different cohorts, I think it's 26 actually, have completed the evidence implementation training program and submitted reports to the journal. Within our first cohort of students, that was 12 students, we had a 75% publication rate. Within our second cohort, we had 14 students and a 57% publication rate. And just a little about publication, because students submit their potential publication or their report at the end of their time in the DNP program, I think, some students are done. They're just done once they submit that, and we've checked all those boxes and they graduate. So I know that we could have an even higher publication rate if our students would remain engaged after they graduate. So we are still working on figuring out how to do that. This fourth bullet, I really should have made the first bullet. So more than anything, what this has done is it's provided positive patient and organizational outcomes. And that's what we want our DNP students to be doing, transforming healthcare in a positive way. So that's the most meaningful outcome, really, in the big scheme of things, is that we are changing healthcare for the better. And I think that students will use this methodology once they've graduated from our program. It's real world experience that they can use once they actually get into practice. So looking towards the future, we have 23 students who completed the Evidence Implementation Training Program in February, so our largest cohort yet, and they are finalizing their reports right now. So JBI should expect to get several reports submitted to the journal from us very soon. We have a new cohort of students, 19 of them, starting evidence implementation at their first week of training in May. So we're planning for and looking forward to that. We have more trainers than ever, so that's exciting to us too, to have more faculty trained. And we would love for you to contact us if you have any questions that we are not able to answer today. So we just wanted to provide you with our contact information here on this slide. And we'd love to hear your questions that you have.
Well, thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Robin, for giving us that overview. I think it's a really great illustration of the value that you can bring through a DNP program to create not only capacity within faculty for innovative approaches to DNP, but also ways of assisting students to see the intrinsic value in the program that you offer. DNP is a very competitive landscape, isn't it? Your program needs to stand out in some way. And I think what you've illustrated this morning is a roadmap for how to achieve that and to show the clinical integration and the academic value at the same time in your program. Do you have any final comments or reflections on that before we turn to questions?
I would just say, Craig, that we're really proud of this work. We think that it does help our students stand out. And our hospital partners, as Robin mentioned, we are in an academic medical center, and we have some hospital partners that are asking and have already taken this course with our students. So we know that our clinical partners are valuing this as well.
Yes. Yes, and we've had clinical partners that have completed the program and then have gone back to further their education. So that's an exciting outcome also. Yeah.
Actually, Robin, that is a great point, and it's something that we see frequently through the JBI EITP program, is that you have people who were actually really reconsidering their career, wondering where they were going with their career and why were they in nursing. But they've done EITP as part of, either as a core program or as part of a DNP, such as in your context. And when they've seen the results, when they've seen the impact, it's actually really helped them refresh and renew their thinking about, why am I a nurse? Why have I chosen this journey? So you've highlighted a really valuable point there, haven't you?
Yes.
Today, our focus was really on looking at the elements of student value as it relates to DNP. But part of your presentation touched on the fact that that doesn't occur in a vacuum. It only occurs when faculty innovate, adapt, and even, manage and reshuffle resources and things like that. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the landscape for DNP programs, and what are some of the main challenges to student value that you see in your market?
Michelle, do you want to go first, or me?
You should call on one of us, Craig. We're waiting on each other to
All
answer.
right.
We're waiting on each other.
Well, Michelle, let me ask you then about what were the main challenges in relation to academic program and process requirements?
I would say our biggest challenge in the beginning, which I mentioned, was figuring out the funding piece, because, we have to pay registration fees to JBI, and managing how our students were going to do that. and I could give you a lot of background on funding in our institution, but it was just a challenge for us. But our business operations office was really fantastic. And once we determined that we could add a small fee to their tuition, and just as a JBI fee, that has been so easily managed since we've done that. So every student is charged that fee their first semester in the program, and then we're done with it. So that was one of the biggest operational challenges, I would say. Robin may have one. I don't want to not leave you room to speak, Robin.
Yes. So do you want me to speak about the academic piece, or do you have a different question?
Yeah, please do. No, yep, please do.
Yes. So I think challenges-wise, as you mentioned, we, of course, we had to completely redo our curriculum and how courses were laid out in order to fit in the different pieces to complete the project. And we definitely had to have everyone on board. We had to, of course, get our leadership and our dean on board. And then, as Michelle mentioned, we had a new director come in when we started this. So Dr. Upchurch was amazing, and we got her on board. And the students really have appreciated the structure that this program has given them. Before, they were just up on their own of creating a project topic, finding a location. And this evidence implementation program has we have topics to pick from JBI, which is amazing, where best practice has already been determined. So the students were able to, if they didn't already have a topic, find a topic, and it's just given them structure, simplicity, what to do. And I think has also shortened the amount of time that it's taken a student to complete a project, because we only give them about 9 months throughout their curriculum. So and we just work on pieces every semester and help and guide them through to where they're finished at the time of completion of their program.
And I would add to that, Craig, that it's also helped us as faculty. I feel so much more organized and like I have a handle on how I need to be helping and supporting my students. So I think it's just made us as faculty so much more settled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you've managed to decrease variability to a large extent, programmatic variability.
Definitely.
Yet this has had no impact on student enrollments. In fact, it's helped with completions and it's added additional value to students through publication.
Yes.
Yes, I should have mentioned that. Thank you for bringing that up. So in the past several years, we've had 100% completion rate within that time frame that I mentioned on a previous slide. So fantastic outcomes as far as program completion.
That's a really, really great result. You've talked about some of the financial challenges and that there was a business model that was able to overcome those. Were there other structural components that you needed to address within the school or faculty around capacity building for academic staff, for example, and their ability to mentor students through their projects?
Absolutely, and we are still working on that. So Robin and I were the first two, I believe, trainers for evidence implementation. We had a third who then retired. She still helps sometimes, but as our enrollment has grown, we have almost 70 students in our DNP program now. So as our enrollment continues to grow, we need more trainers. Dr. Upchurch, the current director, has been trained. We are hoping to train another person very soon. So we have had a hard time keeping up, but we're getting there. We are continuing to get faculty trained in the program so they can help teach students and guide students through their DNP project.
Yeah, I mean, having the challenge of needing to bring in more resources to cope with the number of students is a far better problem to have, isn't it, than struggling enrollments. So I'm glad you have this problem because your partnership with JBI. How would you then rate, this is a tricky question, sorry, maybe. So let's talk about student mentoring a little bit, and how from your perspective, has the JBI program assisted with the development of mentorship capacity?
I'll go. Yes. So I think it has really increased our mentorship capacity, not only with students, but with faculty. We have, of course, this has really helped increase faculty publications as we're working with our students. And our students, because this program is so systematic and structured, our students can help mentor students, coming up behind them. So that's been fun to watch, how our students are encouraging of other students, and I think has really helped the mentoring. And as we're bringing in DNP faculty that have not been trained, it's very easy to teach them those 7 phases and the process because the structure is so well given to us by JBIs and the methodology that we're able to mentor these other faculty members in this implementation piece that they might not necessarily be trained on yet.
Yeah. You mentioned, actually, Robin, I think it was you that mentioned tools and resources that you use to assist students to have routine, standardized, evidence-based materials ready at hand for their DNP projects. How important is having the right tools for a DNP candidate to be able to get true value out of their program?
Oh, it's extremely important. And of course, we teach our students to learn how to search the literature and how to evaluate literature. But JBI just gives us an extra strength in that area because of the tools that are offered with the evidence summaries, the best practice sheets available through the JBI database, and really those evidence summaries are so powerful for our students to see all of the work in the literature review that was done to come up with those best practice recommendations. So those tools are extremely valuable, from critical appraisal to, the implementation methodology of how to understand research and how to translate it.
Terrific. Thank you for helping us with that. You've also mentioned the 7-phase process model, Robin, in part of your presentation. There's a question for us that just says, how valuable is that? Do you actually need a model-based approach, or can you just do your own QI?
Oh, you can certainly do your own, but it's a little chaotic. I think you definitely need a structure and a system to follow. And once you start following a system, you'll realize how much that you've missed, and that system helps keep you in place along the different aspects of the project. So we have goals that we need to meet when we're team building. We have goals that need to be, or deliverables that need to be accomplished when we're planning our baseline audit. And then we need to know how to interpret that data to plan appropriate interventions. So having those tools and structures in place, I think it allows you to do the project faster and I think more efficiently. And it teaches you how to use the data that you're getting by having those structures instead of just doing your own thing. And it helps you also maintain and make sure that you are standardizing yourself against best practice. And of course, the most important thing that's given to us is what is best practice for this clinical question. And that's already been given to us. So we're starting out on the right track, knowing what we need to be measured against.
Right. Yeah. I'm one of the things that was mentioned at the start is I'm a program director for implementation science in JBI and the editor-in-chief of our journal, Evidence Implementation. One of the major reasons that we would reject a paper, although we prefer to not reject papers, is that submissions don't reflect a clear, defined question and measurable criteria for it. Has working in this new model with the EITP program assisted your students to be clearer with their research questions and the criteria around actioning those?
I can speak to that, Craig. One of our first assignments for our student after they identify their clinical problem in their site is we get the evidence summary from JBI, which has evidence-based practices on the evidence summary. We use those evidence-based practices as audit criteria. And one of the students' first assignments is to look at those audit criteria, determine how they're going to measure each one of those. And we spend a considerable amount of time with students on that, because if we don't have that down in the beginning, then the rest of their project, like you said, it's not going to be very clear. So that is one of their first assignments that's housed in their e-learning management system, is completing that audit criteria table.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's a really helpful descriptor. Michelle, while you're here, can you tell us a little bit more maybe about how GRIP, which we haven't talked about yet this morning, how does GRIP fit into that 7-phase framework? Thank you, James, for that question.
Sure. So the GRIP methodology, or getting research into practice, is how JBI guides us to help our students determine what we need to implement. So we do baseline audits, or the students do baseline audits, to determine what evidence-based practices we're not very compliant with. And then we look at the barriers to those evidence-based practices. Why are we not doing those? And that's what the GRIP table guides you through, is identifying those barriers and what strategies might lead to overcoming those barriers, what resources you will need to implement those strategies. So the table is a framework that is easy for students to use, because it has those very things: barriers, how we're going to overcome that, what strategies could help us overcome that barrier, and what resources will they need. So that's a clear, is clear to students. That is something they usually visualize and get right on board with.
Yeah. So now we're actually shifting the conversation a bit, thanks to some of the questions from Janet, who's online. And what you started to talk about now is an intervention or an implementation process informed by theory. So the process framework is a theoretical guide for students. What about for training faculty to be able to use those kinds of standardized theories, frameworks, and models, and integrating them with software? Is there a training program that assists faculty be prepared to lead this kind of work, or to teach?
Yes, our faculty that are assisting in this DNP coursework are evidence implementation trainers. So you may have to help us speak more to this, Craig, but they take the Train the Trainer course through JBI. And so that ensures that they understand this methodology before they begin to guide students.
Yeah, that's right. So because we're a global collaboration, one of the things that we're passionate about is helping each teacher to be their best. And that means allowing room for the individual to express and use their pedagogical skills, but also ensuring we all speak from the same canvas, or the same script in a sense. So JBI actually does host an international training program that accredits people to teach the program that you've now integrated into your DNP. There were a few people in the question section who are interested in how that works. And if you want more information about the JBI training programs, then they're readily available from jbi.global under our education system if you want to look there as well. So what we're hinting at here is an evidence-based approach to implementation through the DNP program. Could you just, maybe Robin, if you could just speak quickly to how do students get access to that evidence?
Yeah, I was muted, sorry. Yes, so our students, we are fortunate that our library has the WK JBI database, so we do have access to those resources. When you become a participant of the Evidence Implementation Training Program, you are giving access to all of the software, the tools, the resources for a year after the the program. So you can continue, and ideally, our students, once they graduate, will be able and can lead improvement projects in their clinical setting using those resources that they will continue to have access to. And you could probably also speak to this, but it is, I believe, also a product you can purchase from WK. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is right.
Tools and resources.
Yeah, so this is a partnership model in a sense, isn't it?
Yes.
So you're operating it locally, but you're doing so in partnership with JBI. There are expert staff in JBI who create evidence summaries and evidence-based information. Those, along with evidence-based quality indicators for students who want to do quality improvement work, those are made available through the software. And then students choose their own topic and work within that process so that it is an evidence-based approach. So there's almost like a double layer of support here. There's
and I think Michelle mentioned that JBI, you're our sponsored faculty because we have lots of help from you, and even the peer review process, you help us with those papers.
Right.
Yep. So how would you then, I guess, describe the faculty workload associated with this particular model of DNP? And if possible, could you compare that to other models of DNP in terms of faculty workload?
Yeah, I can start to answer that. So I see several questions in the chat. Thanks to everybody for your great questions, by the way. So our process for training is that our faculty who teach our students have been trained by JBI in this program. So those faculty are faculty for this course. So DNP 712 is our DNP project course. So those trainers are then faculty for the course. For instance, now I think we have 23-ish students in this course. So we split the students up by faculty members. So there's 4 or 5 faculty in the course. We split the students according to that number, and we guide them. We're the project mentors throughout their whole project process. And as far as workload, we do have a workload document within our school. And our workload document says that we get 1 workload credit if you guys work on workload units or workload credits, 1 workload unit or credit for each DNP project. So I hope that answers those questions that I see in the chat box. And I hope it answers your question, Craig.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really, really helpful. Just a quick one, Michelle, if you don't mind. Kelly in the chat has asked if we can provide an example of a completed DNP project, just to give people a sense of what that is. So is there one that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, several. So, but I love to tell, we have one student who worked with telehealth within the hospital to on diabetes management for patients in the community. So in Mississippi, we have a lot of rural communities, and she worked with telehealth to ensure these patients in the rural areas get the monitoring that they need. So that was one of our bigger projects. But I want to tell you that we have students who've made what we would consider small changes that were huge impact as well. So we had another student who worked on a project within a pediatric unit, and her project was on improving sleep and rest of the patients and the families. And her interventions were family-centered. The family helped her develop the interventions. And one of the things that everybody loved and wanted to do was to place a door sign, just a little door hanger like you have on your hotel if you want housekeeping or not that day, or the do not disturb. So the parents wanted a sign on their door that they could say, we're sleeping right now, so try not to come in our room unless it's absolutely necessary. And we implemented that, and it was so, not we, the student and the unit, implemented that, and it was very successful. So small change, big impact.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a great example, and I'm sure that will help with a number of the questions in the chat function as well. There is a published DNP roadmap as well that's been circulating for a little while, and I think might have even been updated again reasonably recently. And it highlights a number of key propositions that DNP students should be trained and equipped and developed in. And I just wondered if you could speak, if I just name some of those, if you could speak to the contribution of this program to those roadmap expectations. So the first was to introduce students to implementation. And how do you feel this program helps achieve that?
Well, that is this program, implementation. So we checked that one off right there. So yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
So a little bit about the course content. In that first week of training, we talk about systems change. There's a whole day on leadership, how to be a leader, how to pull together a team. So all of those components before you actually do the intervention are taught. And that's the end goal of this implementation. So it definitely checks the box for that. And it gives them, they can do this in their own clinical setting, which is usually best. That's where we've noticed our best projects is when the student is already a part of that unit or that facility, because they're able to get buy-in a little easier and have some, have more of an impact on the progression of the project. So, but yes, implementation is definitely done with this.
Yeah, so there's the learning outcomes from the program are pretty comprehensively geared toward helping students to see that change is actually a human endeavor. It's not a technical process. It's actually about engaging with people in persuasive ways. And is that where you see the value of the leadership training components?
Yes, I love that leadership training, and Michelle usually does that and does an amazing job. And it really kind of opens your eyes as to how difficult change is. And you have to have a leader that is open to that and can influence their staff to see why this change is best for them.
Yeah.
And,
okay,
and the patient, that's our actual goal, is the patient. Why is this best for the patient that we make these changes?
Yeah. Just to reassure people that have posted chat questions, we're going to make the resources from this session available to you via the JBI YouTube channel. We will put in the citation details for papers and reports and embed some links as well. So all the information that you're interested in will be available from that, from the JBI YouTube channel. Can I just come back to the question of publication? Do you think this is something that students really value as an embedded part of the program? And what's your perception of the value out of publication as academics who lead this program? Sorry, maybe.
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Well, our students, when we in the first week of seeing our students on campus, we tell them about potential publications, and you can just see their eyes light up like, me? I'm going to have a publication? And then when we tell them our outcomes related to publication, they get really excited. So I think that adds engagement when they know that up front, that this work may lead to a publication. It's just an added a perk to making sure that they do well on these assignments. And as far as our faculty as scholars also need publications. So I think that people want to help us teach in the DNP program because they see the number of publications that we're getting as faculty as well. So that's a good thing. Yeah,
I've personally found that it reduces the workload burden and it shares the partnership-based publication model, which actually strengthens academic work, doesn't it?
Right.
Look, I want to thank you both, and I want to thank everyone who has contributed to the questions. There are a couple of more questions in the chat, but those I believe are relatively related to things we've talked about. So as we start to bring our session together over the next few minutes, I just wanted to share a few things so that people who are on the meeting today or watching on YouTube can get some examples of what we mean. So this is the journal, JBI Evidence Implementation. It has a focus on methodology, science and research related to implementation in its broadest definition for healthcare and health policy practice. I'm the editor-in-chief. We welcome publications and whether they're formal implementation projects or other kinds of work. This is a Q1 ranked, so it's a top tier ranked journal. And as we've heard, publishing adds value to your DNP program. It's low-hanging fruit, and it also builds academic profile for faculty. So this is a very innovative journal. We are community orientated, so we're here to help people publish. We're not here to block publication. We also do video blogs, podcasts. We produce content in Spanish and English, and are constantly creating opportunities for authors to get involved in active dissemination of their work as well. So we're an exciting journal to work with, if I can put it that way for you. The second thing to just briefly touch on is the evidence implementation training program. We've heard today that implementation training is the cornerstone of organizational culture shifts that enable practice change to occur using reliable evidence-based methods and methodology. And these are how you add value to student experiences. So through implementation training, we can build shared knowledge, skills, shared competency in accessing evidence-based resources to achieve organizational goals for safety and quality in healthcare. So that is capacity and capability building, and it's built right into the DNP program if you embed into DNP the way that Mississippi have done and illustrated here today. Today's talk has really highlighted the value of implementation training within a DNP context. JBI and the JBIC, which is our global collaboration, all offer a range of training programs that are geared to suit your particular culture. In addition to that, we've talked a lot about standardization and then the value of having standardization. We all know that for good student experience, a roadmap is an essential asset. The JBI manual for evidence implementation helps to standardize in a way that increases reliability and fidelity of the work people are doing when planning their own related projects. So this manual that everybody has open access to is founded on the JBI conceptual model for evidence-based healthcare, which integrates synthesis, transfer, and implementation to address health and health service needs. Integration is obviously important as part of a roadmap to reduce inadvertent variations. And so when groups or individuals combine the evidence implementation training program with the manual and are looking to create publications to generate traction from their work, the other final piece that we've referred to that helps to close the loop on efficient and effective candidature is software. And here's just a quick screenshot that shows you a little bit about the software just as we close out this session. So we call the software JBI PACES. And as you can see, it enables users to set up teams, to create shared projects, to plan and complete their sampling frameworks, do data collection, to customize or to use existing evidence-based quality indicators, to report objective measures of best practice, and perhaps even more important than any of that, to be trained and developed as an expert in using audit as a mechanism for practice and policy change. And it does that through the module called GRIP, Getting Research into Practice, which we talked about in response to one of the questions that came up earlier. If your organization is passionate about embracing quality and creating opportunities for staff to engage in meaningful QI and evidence-based project, then take a look at JBI PACES. Michelle and Robin, I really want to thank you for your time and your energy and your enthusiasm for this work that we've been sharing today. We now need to wrap up, and we will be in touch with you around questions individually. I want to encourage you to look at the JBI YouTube channel as well to access the full details and contact information for all our presenters. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.